what am I going to do? What am I going to do for the new year? Am I going to go ahead and have a resolution? Am I going to do this? I'm going to go ahead and change my life. And for the most part, just out of habit, we do that, just out of habit because it's the new year. But it is a good thing to do. But at the same time, because of past mistakes, past poor planning, past misunderstanding, we don't always do very well with New Year's resolutions. Now, one of the things I want you to go ahead and look at, in every word here, we got the RE, reframing resolutions for reality. So that's what we're going to go ahead and talk about. So let's talk about the full cup story. And that's the confession of an overachiever. And I am going to go ahead and use myself as an example as an overachiever. I am kind of ashamed of it. I'm going to be proud of it. I'm proud of it because I'm using my story as an overachiever to say, based on that, is the mistakes. And it's to be used as a means of helping others who may also be overachievers. And, and as an overachiever myself, just a little bit of background. I am a retired military. And my first few years in the military, I was an enlisted person. And then I became pregnant and I was a single parent after that. So I decided to stay in the service after 3 years. And after that, as far as an enlisted person, I became a military officer because I had the college and everything else, but I didn't do the ROTC. So I went to school training in the military to become an officer. And so if you think about it, I was a single parent. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, where we were still coming out of the Vietnam. And for those of you who are a little bit like in the 20s and 30s, you may not know anything about it, but you may have heard stories about the Vietnam War and some of the problems that had happened during that time frame. And one of the things in that was the fact of having minorities, having women as officers, and also having women staying in the military as single parents. So if you look at all of those, I wanted to go ahead and do the best I can. And I want to do everything that I had the responsibilities of doing. I want to do all of them 100%. Now, how many of you can imagine being a single parent, raising a child in the United States Army, in a career field that was just recently, 3 years, 4 years prior to that, was open to women? Prior to that, there was no women officers in the transportation field. Imagine that. So I was doing everything I can to do that as being an officer in transportation in an environment that was mostly dominated by men, and to achieve and do the best that I can. And also at the same time, being a single parent. Now, 100%, nope, I was actually doing 150%. But in doing that made things very difficult for me because there was no balance for me as an individual, as a person. And you don't always do 100% in all, or even 100%, 150% in all areas that you're trying to do, because something's going to give. Now, how many of you are in this chat, in this presentation, would consider yourself an overachiever? Okay, trying to do 150% on all areas of everything that you do in your life. And how draining is that for you? Quite draining, quite a bit. And then, of course, about 10 years later, I became a wife. So I was now a parent as a wife, in a military career, and talk about juggling balls. Yes, there was a lot of things I was trying to juggle at the same time, but still trying to give each one of those things 100%. So if you could think about that and think about that as yourself, I think over, that we can, we'll find out that we can't do it. And something's going to have to give. And sometimes at the same time, in giving those things, you're going to go ahead and also find yourself drained mentally, physically, and spiritually. So based on that, we're going to go ahead and try to see what we can do to stop that. So I'm going to go ahead and there's going to be some handouts. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat for you. Oops. If I can, I don't think I'm going to be able to from there. I'm going to have to get out of this to put this in there in the chat. But I want you to kind of think about what you want to achieve and looking at yourself as if you consider yourself an overachiever and what it is that you want to make different for you. So before we get started, we want to go ahead and do like a mindful moment right now. And we're going to be doing these periodically throughout this presentation. And it's kind of really to get you centered, to kind of get you thinking about yourself and where you want to be and how you're feeling about certain things. So we're going to go ahead and do what we call a favorite place visualization and diaphoretic breathing for the vagus nerve toning using the 5 senses. And this is to help you ground you because it's probably been a long day for most of you. And now you're taking the time to be in this presentation and you've probably been rushed. It's Wednesday, so it's midday. So your week has been probably very chaotic. And so we're going to just take this time to do this breathing to calm yourself so that you could become a little bit more reflective. So what we're going to do is going to be about 5 minutes, and we're going to really actually touch on all areas of your senses, okay? Now you can, it's going to be a video. For those of you who've been a part of my presentations, I always have like a little calming scene with music. So if you want to watch that while we guide you through this meditation, if not, if you want to just go ahead and kind of close your eyes, you could do that. Or if you want to just have it, you don't want to do either of those, you just kind of have what we call a downward gaze and kind of just look downward. But we're going to go ahead and start with this meditation. So as you get yourself in a very comfortable position, sitting still, if you're back upright, hands placed gently in your lap, and whichever position you want to be looking, seeing, or hearing, go ahead and put yourself in that position. And as we get started, the vagus nerve toning by doing this breathing exercise is going to help calm you and calm the vagus nerves. So I want you to take a deep breath in your nose. And as you're doing that, expand your abdomen as much as possible. And then exhale through your mouth. And do this at your own pace, inhaling and then exhaling through your mouth. Doing at your own pace. What I want you to do is touching on your senses of touch. Explore your environment right now. What is it that you're seeing, you're feeling right now? The air around you is brushing up against your skin. How does your legs feel as you're sitting in the started cooking, you may be inhaling some of the food that you've been cooking. As you're inhaling, just how does that make you feel? And if you don't have anything that you're inhaling, or food or incense or aromatherapy or a candle, kind of think about that one scent that just makes you feel very calming right now. Usually it's the scent of orange for some people. For others, it may be lavender or vanilla. But as you're inhaling and exhaling, just inhale those scents that makes you feel good. And how does it make you feel? As you're inhaling and exhaling, if you have the music on and you're able to hear this music, how does it make you feel? Inhaling and exhaling. How does the vibration of the music, how does it make you feel? Does it help to relax you? Does it help to bring back certain memories that's very pleasant for you? And as we keep going through each one of these, and as you're visualizing different situations, and if you start feeling uncomfortable, I want you to understand those feelings. Do not try to change them, just try to recognize them. As you're gently inhaling and exhaling. And if you're watching the screen, using your senses of sight, how does the screen look? What does it make you feel? Does it help to calm you? But if you decide to keep your eyes closed, what special sights are you visualizing right now? Being at the beach, being in the forest, but whichever one, I want you to see, feel, touch, hear. All of them, and how does it make you feel? How was that? How did it make you feel? Did it help you calm you a little bit? Very relaxing. And that's one of the things you could do anytime to help relax you, and also to really get in touch with your feelings. Now, I love the way you start everybody saying relaxing, and that's part of our RE words. So now that you had that, I would like for you to go ahead and tell me, where are you with the word resolution? Now you see how most of you are feeling nice and relaxed and everything. How does the word resolution make you feel right now? And put your response in the chat. A promise to yourself. Anyone else? Okay. I'm ready for change, but nervous for failure. We're going to talk about that, okay? And I'm going to say this right now because I may forget it. But the one thing that you're ready for change, but nervous for failure. You know what? And this is a very nice quote, and this is something that really helped me. Do you know how many times Edison the guy who invented the light bulb, do you know how many times he failed before he succeeded in developing the light bulb? Thousands of times. Thousands. And I say also for myself, been in business now for 11 years, I was also nervous about failure. And one of the things you have to be concerned about, what is it that you're being nervous about? Is it being disappointing? Disappointing yourself, disappointing others? And sometimes we put the word failure to mean everything stopped. And if that was the case, I would not be sitting here right now. I would have stopped my business years ago because things that I tried didn't work and I felt it failed. I failed, but I tried something different. So one of the things that I hope Adam and the rest of you who's also probably feeling the same thing about being nervous about failure is that you're never failing. Only time you fail is when you stop. That's the only time. Because when you stop, you never learn from that lesson to go ahead and make it different. And that's one of the things about a resolution. One of the things that a lot of people have with a resolution is that they stop doing it because the first month they may have a resolution to lose weight or lose 20 pounds or get a promotion or to do so many different things that within the first month, they don't succeed in accomplishing those things. And so they feel a failure. But yet there are 11 other months ahead that you can readjust and reevaluate using the RE words. And that's one of the things. So you're never a failure, never, ever a failure. If that was the case, we wouldn't have the light bulb right now. We would not. So let's reframe RE word, resolution, to reduce judgment and resistance to change. And I've seen in the chat where some of you really are ready for the opportunity to change and to make things better. So what we're going to do is one of the things that we do in our resolutions is that when we do this, we start judging. And because we judge, sometimes it's not the other person, it's not the person around us, it's not our boss, it's not our family members, it is us who's judging ourselves. And based on that is sometimes what makes it difficult for us to change, to want to change. It also helps, denies us the opportunity to, we have that one failure, to go ahead and continue on with different course of action. So let's go back to the chat and let's see, and I want you to go ahead and think of other words that begins with RE that may lead to a change that is less judgy, less judgmental, and turn it around. So what words can you think of that can help you to be less judging about yourself, but has a word RE in it? And you did, some of you did kind of mention it earlier. So put in the chat words that has the RE in it, or you could go ahead and put an RE and hyphenate it and put another word in it. Make up your new word. Okay, so let me go ahead and I'll get started. Another RE word to make it less judging for me, revolution. And if you think about the word revolution, it's change. So let's see what else we come up with. Renew, retry, there you go. And review and revive. Yes, all of these are great words. Yes, all of them are really good words. How about you, Adam? Do you have a word that you want to just turn everything around? Another RE word. Oh, there you go. Revive. That's it. So when you revive, you're changing that environment for yourself. You're not judging. You're not that fear of failure, because if you made a mistake and you went on ahead and tried to do this resolution for the new year and it didn't work out the way you did, you kind of relook at it and you revive it. You go ahead and kind of think of something different, or you renew it, or kind of look at something that worked in the past and you just kind of forgot about it and you bring it back to life. And of course, reviewing what went wrong before and then retry it a different way. These are all great words, and these are things that we should all try to strive for as we get ready to start the new year. Very, very good. I'm excited. And there's another thing too that I have been doing and been working on, and that's doing a goal setting workshop. And it's completely different than what you may have seen in the past. So perhaps I may revive that myself. So one of the things that when we're facing obstacles, especially when we have obstacles of resistance of change, and how many of you just, you know, you can put there and say, me, you can put a thumbs up, but how many of you they get very stressed, especially when they're thinking about a resolution, New Year's resolution, or making any type of change, and you have this fear of resistance and doubt and dread, and because of that, you are kind of keeping yourself stagnant into one place. Think about that. So what we're going to do, we're going to try to help for this next moment is to do a reflection mindful movement, and that's removing the stress from resolution. If you think about it, I like this. If you look at it, solution, you have a solution and you thought that what you planned and everything else was going to work, but it didn't. So what did you do? You created a new one, and it became another solution. So resolution. Think about that when you think about that word. A lot of people think of resolutions, they just think about failure. But if you look at it in another way, you're reviving, reviewing, retrying that one solution that you created that did not work very well. Did you see how I use all of the words that you have put in about the positive spin on RE words, and how you can use that towards creating the new resolution for yourself? And then at the same time, taking the stress off of the obstacles of fear and doubt and judgment, taking away all of that. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to go ahead and do another 5-minute mindful movement. And we're going to go ahead and remove the stress from the word or the previous thought of failures on resolution. Let's get started. So as you get ready for this 5-minute mindful meditation, and what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and think about the worst feeling you had when you had that resolution or something that you tried and you failed at it. And I want you to kind of think about that. I want you to be able to use all your senses. How did it feel? How did, when you touch it, how did it make you feel? How did it sound? Use all of your senses on that one failure. And what we're going to do now is start this meditation, and we're going to turn that around. Let's get started. As you're being very comfortable right now, and you're feeling really relaxed, and you now we're holding on to this thing, this failure, this thing that you had done, and you judged yourself, and it made you feel bad. I want you to hold on to that. But now what I want you to do, I want you to take a nice deep breath in. And as you breathe out, I want you to breathe out all the negative feelings that you felt about that one obstacle that you had, that one failure that you had. But yet, at the same time, when you're inhaling, I want you to inhale a renewed feeling of self. And then blow out the old judgmental self. As you inhale, I want you to inhale revival. And exhale judgment. Inhale, retry. And exhale, stop. Just inhale. Pick your own positive word that begins with a R-E. Use the ones I used, but make up another one. But as you inhale, I want you to inhale that positive word and exhale that negative word, that negative feeling. And as you're exhaling, I want you to feel more relaxed within your body, because now you're rewiring your brain. You're telling yourself that what's before was something that was negative. You're turning it into something positive. Inhale that positivity and exhale that negativity. And sometimes it may be hard to do, because sometimes we hold on to negativity a whole lot more than we hold on to positivity. But I want you to let it go. I want you to embrace positivity. I want you to embrace the newness, the renewing of your mind, the renewing of your body, the renewing of your spirit and soul. As you now change everything within yourself. And as you're inhaling this positivity, now I want you to exhale joy. And when you're exhaling joy, I want that joy to surround you, to encompass every part of your cells. Inhale now those positive things. And I want you to exhale more positivity. But now this positivity is going to become new words in your ears that you can hear. New revived words revive feelings that you could touch and hold on to. Joy, love, self-confidence, reassurance, see, reassurance, all of the good words. And I want you to know how it feels within yourself right now. Doesn't it feel good? So how did that make you feel when you kind of went from inhaling positivity, exhaling the negative, and then after a while, you ran out of negative things, now you exhale joy and had that surround you? How did that make you feel? You can share in the chat. Anybody? Well, I am going to share with you, even though I'm doing these classes, I am being energized and revived. It makes me feel so good when I do these presentations. Like anything is possible in the moment. Amen. There you go. And it is. It really is. It's something that we have to embrace and realize that anything is possible. We just have to grab hold on it. And it feels so good. It really does. Thank you for sharing. And the same thing, even though I'm not doing the meditation, but I'm guiding you through the meditation, it makes me feel so good myself, because these are words that I'm speaking not only to you, but I'm also speaking to myself. And it makes me feel so good and so energized. And I could tell you, if I was to share my story from this year, I need some revitalization. So it's really making me look forward to the new year. And it's this helping you do this is also helping myself. So one of the things as we get ready to embark on this new journey is to resolve on things in areas of our parts of our life. And resolving something is a thing we look forward to. Maybe we could break that down. Okay, let's go ahead and see how we could do that. And the resolving and what we do is resolving an issue that we may be having. Let's proceed. So, what changes would you like to work towards that would result in a sense of renewal for you? And this part of this is it's going to be part of that resolving thing that we're going to do. But what changes would you like to work towards? And maybe if you've been judging yourself or something, what is it that you want to work on that would result in a better sense of renewal for you? And this is kind of a deep question, because sometimes it can be very painful when you kind of look at why I feel a certain way. Why do I react a certain way? And sometimes when we get to that core part of us, it hurts. It kind of stings. But recognizing that will help you to being able to get you more of a sense of renewal, because now you can recognize what the hindrances are. So what would you like to share? If you would like to share, like I said, it might be kind of sensitive for some people, but you can if you want to. Yeah. And you know, sometimes when you do have a lot of negative thinking, you have to kind of look at it and kind of look at why. What's causing that negative feeling and thinking? You know, and sometimes it can be rooted very deep in our souls. And if you have been following the presentations we've been doing this year, we did talk what we call epigenetics, and epigenetics is the rewiring of our genes from generations and generations ago. And sometimes when we have a lot of repeated behavior and a lot of repeated thoughts and feelings, it rewires your nervous system. And they have had scientific studies that show when that happens, it also changes our genetic makeup. So because of that, one of the things you want to try to do is kind of look at the source. And sometimes it may have been something more recent, but then again, it may have been something that has been generations before you. But because it's been passed on through the genes, it's now on you. But the one thing I want to give to you is the feeling that you can't change it. You can change your negative thinking, and you can be joyous in everything that you do. As long as you look and see, why am I not joyful? What is holding me back? And one of the things I like to say, especially when you look at epigenetics, look at your environment. Sometimes look at your family members. And if you see your family members, and if you have grandparents or great-grandparents, look at the behavior. And if their behavior, and you look at it, you say, oh my gosh, I'm mimicking that same behavior that my great-grandmother had or my great-grandfather. And you realize a lot of that's epigenetics. It was passed on. There was a study that showed children of those who were in the Holocaust faces certain fears that was experienced by their great-grandparents during the Holocaust that they never, ever experienced themselves, but they had a certain fear of certain things that they've never experienced, but they couldn't understand why. But during the study of the epigenetics and everything else, they found that their great-grandparents was involved in these different types of scenarios, and that changed their genetics, which was passed on from one family member to another. So one of the things you want to do is kind of identify those things and then make a change towards it. And if it's based on something recent, then change that recent behavior to making it a positive thing. I am a half full kind of person. And one of the things I always tell, I mean, even when I was in the military and I've been out for quite a few years, I would tell everyone I knew, flip the coin. If you look at, you got heads on one side, flip it to the other side. If you have something negative on the one side, flip it and find something positive. And if you can't find something positive, make it up. Because if you make it up, then your brain doesn't know nothing different. It knows you're making something positive, and it's going to react that way. Just as you thinking negative, your body's going to react negatively. So think positive thoughts, even though it may not be occurring, but put hope in there. I'm in a study right now that says hope on the journey. So if you cannot think of anything right now, you have a lot of negative thoughts, or you want to find more joy, put hope in there in your thoughts. Start your sentence, start your day with the word hope. And I'm gonna tell you, your body's gonna change, and so with everything else. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. So as you're making these changes, what changes we're going to reclaim? We're going to go ahead and we're going to take back. What changes would you like to work towards that would help you reclaim some good and joyful aspects of your life being? Okay, some of you shared, you said you want to find more joy and you want to stop your negative thinking. So we're going to say, based on that, most of you want to make changes in that, and you want to be able to reclaim the good. Now, my question is to you, and this is going to be a deep thought. What do you consider something good? Interesting. Kind of think about that. Let's say, for instance, somebody who has financial problems and they feel that to get them out of financial debt is if they won the lottery. I think all of you would say, I want to claim that. That's going to make me get out of financial debt. Would it? Think about it. Whatever old habits you've had that got you in financial debt, you win the lottery, you're going to still use those same habits. And you're going to be in financial ruins after that lottery. So what we need to do is what you have to kind of look at, what you need to work towards that will help you to bring more joy into your life. What is it you need to think about or do to make yourself stop thinking negatively? So sharing in the chat, accepting your faults, okay? And you know, and the thing is, accepting your faults is a very good thing, because when you accept them, you're accepting who you are. And that's accepting you that you're not 100%, that you're human. And you have to learn to work on the small wins. Sometimes we don't think about that. Just like we was talking about the financial debt. If you was able to say, I am going to put aside, I want to get out of financial debt, and I'm going to do baby steps, and I'm going to be able to save $5 a week. That's a small win, because at the end of the month, you found yourself $5 richer this month than you were the last month. Celebrate that. And that's one of the things when I teach in my workshop on goal setting, celebrate the small wins. And when you do that, you become less judgmental. And then you're going to start seeing those small wins instead of those failures. And then you're going to be on that road to self-acceptance and less stress too. You think about it? And that's the one thing we have to do. I really love that. And that's one of the things like we always do. So always celebrate the small wins. And if you say, for instance, especially if you have a lot of negative thinking, if every time you had a positive thought, you write that positive thought inside a little sticky and you put it inside a jar. And then at the end of the week, read those joyful moments. Do the same thing with your small wins. Get a jar on a little sticky, write your small wins, those little wins, those things that you achieved. Write them down. And I bet you at the end of the week, you're going to find all those wins, and even the thought of believing that you was a failure or the fear of it is going to be right out the window. So that's what I want you to do. And then if next year you want to come back on or email me and say, Nancy, I did that. I've been always judging myself and finding fault at everything that I did. But if you write down each week those things that you accomplished, and then read it at the end of the week, every day, at the end of the week, and see all the things that you accomplished. See that you didn't snap at your child with a negative thought, because now you accomplished something and you looked at it. I want you to do that. And I want you to share with me later on, next year maybe, okay? I'm excited about this, okay? I don't know if you can tell by my voice, but I am. But I really am. So, and this is we're kind of repeating ourselves, because the reason why we're repeating ourselves on this, because a lot of the stuff is so intertwined. So, release. What behaviors or thoughts or beliefs would you like to or need to release so that you can move towards something different? Okay. And sometimes the observation of withholding forgiveness for ourselves or for others. And how many of you, if you were to go ahead and look at what beliefs or behaviors you would like to need, and if it was based on unforgiveness, think about it. And if you want to release, write down in the chat, what behaviors, thoughts would you like to or need to release so that you can move forward? And if unforgiveness is one of them, whether or not it's unforgiveness of another person who wronged you, or even unforgiving yourself for making that little mistake, for not being 100%, when you only have 40%. But recognize when you have that 40%, why are you trying to do 100% when you have only 40? Why do you have 40? Is it because you're tired, you're overworked, you got a lot of other things that you're trying to do at the same time, and you only have 40%, but you're trying to achieve 100? Why are you still trying to? Should you, at that 40, get 60% of help from someplace else? So what type of behavioral thoughts would you like to or need to release so that you can move forward? Put that in the chat, and I'll go ahead and talk about the one thing about unforgiveness. And Mary, she shared the thing of unforgiveness. And one of the things, if you think about it, is that if somebody wronged you, okay, if somebody wronged you 30 years ago, 30 years ago, and you're still holding on to that anger, and you say, I can't forgive them for what they did to me 30 years ago. And I bet you if I asked you what did they do to the verbatim 30 years ago, you may not be able to tell me verbatim exactly everything, every conversation, every word, every feeling. But you're holding on to that. And because you're holding on to that unforgiveness, it's causing your nervous system to be in overdrive. It's causing you to be stressed. It's causing you to have an inflammatory response. It's causing you to have a lot of inflammatory diseases like lupus, even diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis. I could name a whole lot of diseases that's all based on a response from an inflammatory system, based on stress, and a lot of times based on unforgiveness. And one of the things, there was even a study that was made that those who hold unforgiveness is in their heart. You hold it in your heart, and guess what? A lot of those people have heart problems. Interesting. Think about that. Now, if you was to go back to that person, you seen them 30 years later, and you seen them, and they're sitting there talking to you and chatting with you, and you're still looking at them. You did that back way when, and I'm not forgiving you for what they did. They're gonna say, forgive you for what? What did I do? They're living their life. You're probably having heart problems. You probably have an inflammatory response. You're probably having a whole lot of other things, and they're just as happy-go-lucky, doing everything else in the world. And just like they say, unforgiveness is like drinking poison. It's like giving that person, wanting to give that person poison, but you're drinking it yourself. That person don't have nothing and they're just as healthy. So I think for the most part, since most of you haven't put anything in the chat, that we kind of discussed on some of the things that you want to do to release. Exactly, let it go. Okay, you know, one of the things when I was I used to work in a hospital as a nurse, and before that I used to work as a CNA. And I used to do this when I was in the military. It drove my soldiers crazy sometimes. But whenever I had a melody or a song, I started singing it, and I'm not the best singer in the world. So when you said "Let It Go," it makes me think of that song. Let it go, let it go. There you go, Frozen. So yes, so you know, it's a great movie, and I love that song. So one of the things we got to do is kind of let it go, but sometimes it is hard. And when you're trying to say let it go, but you find that it's hard, write down your feelings at that moment, why it's hard to let it go. And when you write it down, you're going to be able to visually see it. Sometimes instead of holding it in, you'll be able to see it with your eyes. And then you can go ahead and try to say, you know what? I don't need that anymore. Let me put that, whatever it is that you're holding on to, that you're trying to release, that you're holding unforgiveness for. Sometimes they say you can write a letter to that person and then burn it. And as it's burning, it's releasing. Let it allow, while you're watching those ashes, allow that to help you to release anything that you're holding on to. It's a good exercise to do that. Okay. So what changes would you like to work towards that would help you restore your energy, self-worth, health, joy, and productivity? Anything? Think about it. You can share the chat if you want to. I know you said let it go and unforgiveness. Finding time to myself. Yes. And that will help definitely. But you know what? Sometimes when we don't do that, sometimes we don't do it because we don't believe we deserve it. And sometimes we have to kind of change things around so that we could go ahead and get that time to ourselves and spend a little bit more. So maybe if you plan like every 2 months and you put it in writing and you make the plans and you plan an A and then you plan a B and then you plan a C. So if A don't work, you put the plan B, you got plan B, and then C, you make that. And then that way you'll be able to find time for yourself. And finally doing the things that makes me happy and make time for them. Exactly. Sometimes there are so many different things that we like that makes us happy, but we don't make time for it. Explain that. But anyway, we got 4 minutes left. So we will do 5 because we started about 1 minute after. Okay. We have some handouts, but I think because of the handouts, we may not be able to go through it, but let's try. Let's see. Okay, let me see if I get that handout. If you just forgive me just a quick moment, and I'll try to get that handout, okay? Just bear with me a few minutes, please. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut and paste this handout in the chat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through it. And we may not have enough time to do it, but I'm going to walk you through it. And that way, you could be able to do it on your own. Okay, let me get back to my sharing the screen. Wow. Okay. Okay, let's go back to there. Okay. Okay. So I want to put in the chat this link. And in this link, what I would like for you to be able to do is to go ahead and write in the columns. You could go ahead and look at it. You can also copy and paste it so that all your responses, you'll have it for yourself. And in doing that, what you're going to do in the first one, we have, if you can see my screen, and then in the second one, you're going to have let's reframe the word resolution to less judgmental. So what I want you to do is write all this in here, what you want to try to renew, reclaim, release, and restore. Now, like I said, writing these things down is going to help. And what I want you to do, changes I would like to begin in 2023, list as many that pops in your mind that you'll get and using the 4 squares. So behaviors, emotions, what are these things that you want to change? And what you could do is use this and desires to change what you need to do. What activities using this, what you could be able to do is use this for later on and write down the dates and times. Like I said, when you put stuff in writing, you could be able to make the changes, desired changes. This relates to what activities, behaviors you need to do and how to move forward. And really honestly looking at what was I doing right before this happened. So being able to go ahead and identify these things will help you to see yourself completely different and make the changes that you want to make in your life. You don't have to do those now, but what I would like for you to be able to do is to go ahead and cut and paste it and use it as your homework assignment. I'm not going to test you on it, but if you want to be able to share, we could be able to go from there. All right. And I am going to go ahead and close this and see if there are any questions or anything that you would like to be able to share. This concludes our presentation. Okay, this concludes our presentation. If there's are there any questions? We did go a little bit over, so.